Alright, so here is an interesting problem. Looks like we've got a roof slope and some rise and run and 45-degree angle. We'll want to use a trig ratio. So let's go ahead and highlight some important information, give ourselves a diagram, and go ahead and read the problem. The roof slope of a certain house has a run of 12 feet. The run here is the horizontal dimension from the center of the house out to the outside of the wall there. If the angle adjacent to the run, and that would be this angle right in here, if the angle adjacent to the run has a measure of 45 degrees, what is the length of the rise? And we have a hint here, use a trig ratio to solve. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself a diagram over here to draw on. We've got our run that we can label right down here. And we know that that run is equal to, given in the problem, 12 feet. We've got our rise over here. And do we know anything about that? We don't. What is the length of the rise? That's our x. That's our unknown. We do know that the angle adjacent to the run, and so let's see, which angle is that? Well, this angle is given as 90 degrees, right? That's a right triangle. So adjacent means touching or next to. So if this is our run, then this angle right here has to be our angle adjacent to the run, and that's given as 45 degrees. So now we're going to use a trig ratio to solve, and we're going to solve for rise, or x. When I'm working with trig, I like to write down my mnemonic device, my memory device here, which I always say to myself, so ka toa. And you remember that so, the sine of an angle is the ratio of the opposite over the hypotenuse. The cosine of an angle is the ratio of the adjacent side, the length of the adjacent side over the length of the hypotenuse. The tangent of an angle is equal to the length of the opposite side over the adjacent side. I like to look at these and think about which one of these trig functions will help me solve this problem. So we have an angle here, 45 degrees. We know the adjacent side, the side adjacent, that's the adjacent side. This long side is the hypotenuse, isn't it? That's this h. So we don't really need to work with hypotenuse. We know the adjacent, and we're trying to solve for the opposite, this opposite side right here, opposite the angle. So the trig function that contains adjacent and opposite is the tangent function right here. So we're going to use that to solve. Just to write this a little more descriptively, the tangent of an angle is equal to the length of the side opposite over the length of the side adjacent. We know in our problem that the side opposite is our rise. And we know that the side adjacent is our run. And we also know that the rise is our unknown, x, and our run is 12 feet. We know all that. We also know that theta, our angle, is 45. So we can rewrite this now, simplify this, and say that the tangent of 45 is equal to x, in our case, x over 12. Let's use a little bit of algebra next to isolate our x, because that's what we need to solve for. Right now we've got x tied up here. We've got it divided by 12. So we need to undo that division. The opposite of division is multiplication. So let's go ahead and multiply this side by 12. But if we do that, we have to multiply this side by 12. X over 12 times 12 over 1, those 12s are going to cancel, and we're going to be left with x on this side, and rewriting x is equal to 12 times the tangent of 45 degrees. Put degrees in here. What's next? Now it's time to break out the calculator and punch in some values. We can type this all in. We can just do 12 times tangent 45, and that's going to give us a value. We can also punch in tangent of 45 first, and we're going to get the solution to that. The tangent of 45 is 1. And when we multiply 12 by the tangent of 45, or by 1, we're going to get equals x. So x is equal to 12. Our units here are feet, and so our final answer, our x value, or our rise, in this case, the rise of this roof with an angle that gives it a slope at 45 degrees and a run of 12 feet, our rise is also equal to 12 feet. And that makes a lot of sense. So this is our final answer, and I hope that's helpful.